Hello, Assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound, and healthy. And the rainy days have started again with this weird ass repetition now in the news of cloudburst. So cloudburst happened once, as you know, in during the heavy monsoon rainfalls in the northern areas that led to a whole family literally being drowned because the army was too busy playing politics and traveling and playing golf to do their rescue work. And this time, again, there was a cloudburst that led to, flash flooding in the northern areas. And this time it was within the KPK province. And again, the army and the disaster management authority, they failed to even be there. So the KPK's government had to make some of its own efforts. And obviously, because they're not trained for this, because you have specific, the army's trained for this, and the NDMA is supposed to be trained for this. And yet, the trained people were absent, and the government had to send its own people, and they went on helicopter and they tried their rescue missions and all, and they eventually crashed themselves. So this is what we have. And now, once again, they're announcing cloudburst. Now, here's my problem. My problem is with people taking one term and then just running away with it. It's as if they're on a mission. It's like when and I am a language teacher. When you tell somebody that the best way that they can learn a language or a vocabulary is utilization, right? So we give them words, right? We give them words and we say, okay, use this word in as many sentences as you can right now. That's exactly what it seems people are doing in their daily lives, seriously. I remember when the word hyper was suddenly used, and then everybody had to call everybody hyper. Like, do you even know the meaning of hyper, you mofos? Do you know the meaning of hyper? Anybody who suddenly gets who starts snapping back or giving an answer or retorting, yes, even a simple retort, as to in due to somebody already making a stupid mistake or a stupid claim or saying something that is irritating. Yeah, these were things that were considered normal, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, why are you getting so hyper? Like, that actually makes you get hyper and you want to smack them. It's a miracle people didn't get smacked, but I mean, that is it. Similarly, when there's aggressive, now everybody becomes aggressive. Why are you so aggressive? Like, seriously? Now everything is a cloudburst. Yeah, every flash flood is a cloudburst, and every heavy rain is going to have a cloudburst in the northern areas of Pakistan. Seriously? You've learned this new term, and now every day there's going to be a cloudburst? Why doesn't that cloud go and burst on your asses, is what I want to know. Why is everything a cloudburst? There was a time when we just said flash floods, but now they've picked up on a term, oh, cloudburst, and they're like, oh, let's just do cloudbursts. Cloudbursts in Pakistan, cloudbursts in India. Like, seriously? Go burst your bubble. Point being, stop using one word over and over and over again, whether it applies or not, okay? Not all flash floods are cloudbursts. Not all cloudbursts are flash floods. Sometimes they're both completely the same and interchangeably used. Try to just say flash floods, please. Because it's literally every day. It's like literally they're like marketing the word cloudburst, Why don't you talk about NDMA's incompetence? Why don't you talk about the army's incompetence? Why don't you talk about the army losing its priorities and its focus? Why don't you talk about how the chief of army is running here and there everywhere but focusing on his duties? Why don't you talk about how the NDMA, which is actually a civilian organization, is taken over by the army in the sense that their chief is it's a serving lieutenant general, and he's not doing jack shit. One would think that if you'd put a serving army officer in an organization like National Disaster Management Authority, that he would actually put his training to some use. But no, he has become the weather forecast. That's all. He's reduced the NDMA to giving weather reports. That's not even their job, but that's what they're doing actually. And our media is using Cloudburst as a clickbait to their headlines, even when there was no Cloudburst. Now that's the most irritating and funny part is they started running away with this headline of Cloudburst, even when all the rains had stopped. All the rains have stopped, and when you click on the headline to find out what the frack it is that they're talking about, they're singing the praises of your dictator, and they're talking about how Maryam Nawaz is and how this is and that. And what is the headline? Cloudburst. Oh, unless you're trying to tell us that Pakistan's biggest and actual cloudburst is the presence of Maryam Nawaz and Asim Munir, then okay, I get it. I get your point. But seriously, what the frack? Stop taking a word and then mincing it. Mincing it to shreds. Stop doing that. Stop misusing words. It's like how, the Indian vloggers, have you noticed, they always say, this is how it looks like. That is wrong. This is what it looks like. We don't say this is how it looks like. We say this is how it looks, period. Or we say this is what it looks like, and we usually don't even say this is how it looks. We do. Well, the question is, how do I look, or how does it look? And then it looks beautiful, it looks awful, it looks terrible. You look beautiful, you look awful, you look terrible. That's something else. But what does it look like? Like is with what, not how. And you know how the Pakistani vloggers suddenly began. It looks like a wow. That was the most frustrating thing that I ever heard in my entire life. That it looks like a wow, that originally wherever it originated or generated from was literally a quotation marks. It looks like and then short for words, not knowing what to say, and it's like wow. But then everybody decided to say, oh, it's a complete sentence, let's make it a complete sentence. It looks like a wow. Seriously, I could smack you senseless just for that. Do you know how irritating it is to listen to every single wannabe vlogger saying that exact same sentence for everything? And yes, I'm sorry to say, even the Indian bloggers. Like, seriously? Why would you speak such wrong English? You're supposed to be the two biggest populations that speak English in the world, by the way. What the hell are you doing? Well, it's not like the native English speakers are any good, especially the Americans, and now even the British. What do you mean I would have saw? This is the new British trend that I'm noticing. This just shows how the quality of education in Europe and in America, what it is reduced to. That you're having British people, it's their language, English is their language, and they're saying, I would have saw. I would have seen. I saw. Have you forgotten present, past participle? I see, I saw, I have seen, I had seen, I would have seen, I could have seen. Conditional. Remember, with conditional, it's past participle. You have what is wrong with everybody? It's like how people start actually deliberately. It's also, that's another thing you'll notice. Sometimes people just start deliberately distorting words, and then it becomes a part of their daily life pattern and speech and way of talking and speech, and other people who don't even know better, they pick it up, and then it becomes regular speech, very wrongly so. For example, I would have thunk. Now, would have thunk is a deliberate distortion, okay? It's not something that people are, just making a mistake. No. This is a deliberate distortion. It's sort of like, you're like deliberately distorting the word and saying, oh, it should have been think, thunk. So I would have thunk. But no, it's thought. I would have thought. That's the correct English. But people who wouldn't know would listen to you keep on and on mimicking that wrong word for fun, saying, oh, I would have thunk, and then they say, okay, so in English, think's past tense is thunk, okay, and they'll start talking that same way. It's like how, when you had those jackassed Hindi dubbed cartoons that suddenly came into Pakistan, and they just ruined the Urdu of the Gen Z. Seriously, the Gen Z right now, the Urdu that they, thankfully most of us, because we cannot tolerate the already plagiarized language being completely distorted, We literally retaught most of the Gen Z, our generation literally went berserk, and we started correcting their Urdu very painfully. But seriously, one of the main reasons why Gen Z's Urdu sucks, both in India and Pakistan, are those really bad Hindi dubbed cartoons. They were their worst. It's not, as I said, it's already, anyway. Forget that. But the point is, stop taking a word and running away with it, okay? Stop misusing words and stop making them part of your everyday vocabulary. It's one thing to use those words again and again. The reason we use a certain word again and again when we're learning a language, or when we encourage people to use that word again and again in their daily lives, is to learn to use them correctly. But if you're only going to use them incorrectly, please stop using them, is all I can say. Just don't use them. Please. Stop with the cloud bursting, okay? Stop with the hyper. Stop with the aggression or aggressive, stop. And stop talking about people need to forget the past. Pakistan was made in the past. Is Pakistan the past or the present? You tell me, is Pakistan the past or the present? The decision to make Pakistan was in the past. But Pakistan exists today because of that decision. Does it make Pakistan the past or the present? Learn the definition of past. In fact, you know what? Learn to keep your mouths closed. Let's try that. Let's try not to talk. That would probably be the best option. This is me signing out. Khuda Hafiz.